Hi, day 38 of 365 days of realizations. So I have been playing with some thoughts about myself, about how I would describe myself, how I would identify myself. And of course, ultimately, I am a being of love and light. But I've been doing this exercise where I am putting together how I would describe myself in my business. Like, what is the experience that I've had that has brought me to the truths that I've discovered and makes me a good example to engage in the stuff that I want to engage with, like teaching other people, sharing what I've come to know, breaking it down into digestible pieces with processes and deeper understandings. And a lot of it is based on the teachings of Abraham Hicks and the idea that we create our own reality. There's some Bentinho Massaro thrown in there. But ultimately, that idea that we're already it, and it's really just a matter of lining up with the fullness of who we are and flowing from that place, which is great. But so when I was thinking about how I would describe myself, it was so interesting because what I came up with is this idea that, so what is it that I have lived that has made me feel different or unique or have this strong desire? So first of all, since I was as small as I could possibly remember, I feel like I always wanted to be a teacher. I always wanted to step out. I loved sort of sharing with other people things that I had come to know. I was often one of the girls that was asked questions when one of my friends was struggling with something with a boyfriend or things at home weren't going their way. And I really love taking people on little inward journeys. Even before I became a hypnotherapist, before I even really understood a lot about what meditation was, I just had this natural calling inside of myself to take people deeper to themselves. So there's all of that. And also, when I was a child, I used to have a lot of experiences with Jesus and with other sort of beings of love and light. Being a child and just being really flowy and open and in a vibed up place, that happened and it just was there, and I was kind of like they were my friends. And so I have that as sort of an anchoring point, and just this really strong, deep belief that part of why I lived everything that I've lived in this experience is so that I could somehow use it to be an example to other people, not just in my clarity, but also in the unclarity, in the moments that I had that maybe I took longer than seemed necessary, but to sort of help others feel soothed in that, but not stuck in it. So as I was doing this little description of myself, which is really kind of person-based, but I am Trina, and things about me that identify myself. So I'm an awakened soul. But then it started to be like, what is those experiences that I've had that really call me to understand the things that I understand? And what's funny is so much of it is based in kind of that hero's journey, that idea that I had these challenges in my life, like the death of my husband and the addiction stuff with my son when he was 17. He's now 23. But it was like from the time he was 13 till he was 17. And just those kind of pullings and those experiences being the things that really caused me to come to an understanding that the conditions outside of me don't make me happy, that it's really an inward thing, and to move me further and further and further, deeper and deeper and deeper into that inner place. And yet having this hesitancy of not wanting those things to be the focus of my life. I mean, they were there, I got through them, they did their magic, so to speak. And what's really fun and hard is to have, not hard for me, but maybe hard for other people, that recognition that we create everything. So I, in essence, created those very experiences, the early departure of my husband and leaving me with 4 kids to be a single parent, and all the struggles that I've had with my older son, the times in my life when I felt, victimized by someone else, where things didn't go my way. I have had some sexual assault in my past, and just things like that, that to me, it's like I'm looking through it as if it's someone else's story and not mine, which is part of what tells me that I've kind of cleared it. But I realize that the rest of the world doesn't always see it that easily and simply, and it also helps with the relatability. So what I don't want is, I don't want those things to be like the highlighted things of my life. I want them to be the things that were the catalysts that took me to this deeper, newer expansion, and also the things that gave me the fodder to really have to do that work, to really understand it so that I could reverse engineer it, break it apart, and see like what is it that I did that made it sort of easier, because I wouldn't say it was easy. And just to be clear, it's like, I mean, it's like I still had those moments where definitely it sucked, and definitely there was times that I wanted it to be different. But the interesting thing in both of those scenarios is there was nothing I could do about it. There was nothing I was going to do that was going to bring him back to life. There was nothing I could do that was going to stop my son using until he was darn well ready to stop. And in fact, when I let go of needing him to stop, that's when some things shifted. They're still not in the perfect place. It's still a becoming for him. But in my own work, I've been able to like really just find freedom and ease and peace in that, and to hold the best possible energy and vibration I can for him. He's such a beautiful soul. He just is. And I understand that he has some stuff, some layers of stuff that are keeping him from knowing who he really is and flowing in the fullness of that. And I don't have to understand why that serves him. I just believe it does. And I'm always going to be planting the seeds, and I'm always going to be the bright light, and I'm always going to trying to be the example for him. But the recognition that it's not my work to do and it's not my responsibility was really something that shifted my life and really changed things, that I could find that freedom and also let him off the hook, because I wasn't constantly looking at him to be someone different. Because it's so common to think that our kids should make us happy, in the sense of that, well, we should make them happy, and they really think that, but they should make us happy in terms of being successful or being whatever it is that we want to overlay on them. But remember that they have their own inner guidance. They have their own inner being that is leading them, and they have their own plan, their own intentions as to why they came. And sure, we agreed to some of that together, but ultimately the best thing that I can do is let them find their way with all of that, and just keep planting those seeds, watering them whenever I have a chance, being a positive light. And I do a lot of vibrational work around my son that is invisible. Like, he doesn't know I'm doing it. He doesn't see it. Not just praying for him, but just holding a love and light vibration around him. And at the same time, with this clear recognition that it's not my thing to do, and it might not even be the thing that's supposed to change, because it's neutral. So anyway, what I was trying to get to was just this idea that in talking about those things, it's been interesting to me, because I have a recognition that there is this relatability thing, and that I stand in such knowing and such truth that things that I managed to maneuver my way through and navigate is totally because of this belief system that I have, because I know that I'm a being of love and light, because I know that everything around me is an illusion, because I know I create my own reality, because I know that I can shift how I want to feel just by how I want to feel, and then I don't need to use those things outside of me that in essence, in both of those scenarios, I didn't have any control over to decide how I was going to feel. And so much of victimhood is about believing that you have to take your cues from that you have to feel bad because that thing over there happened. And, I remember this crazy thing that I think it was my mother said, when I die, are you going to grieve as much for me as you did for him? And as if there was some judgment about how sad I should have been. And believe me, I had lots of moments, but ultimately I was then standing in the place of being the example for my children, that it's okay. I mean, I remember every one of them coming to me, well, not the 3-year-old, but the other ones coming to me and saying, I want to go do this fun thing. Is that okay? Within the first week of it happening, as if it's not, as if like this means that you can never be happy again. And we have these crazy mixed up ideas in the matrix about when something bad like that happens, how long we're supposed to sort of feel bad about it. But it's all premised on the idea that my happiness comes from outside of me. And so I absolutely love my life. I love my partner. I love my children. I love myself. And yet at the same point, I recognize that none of those things are the basis of my happiness. I mean, any one of them could leave, could transition, could just move away, whatever it is, and not take my happiness with them, because I realize that it's inside and it's this core thing. So what's interesting is now I'm figuring out how to own that, how to talk about that, how to be okay with it, how to do it in a way that if it triggers someone, that's okay. And just to sit with it. And we tend to so often talk about those experiences from the place of like, poor me, or look at this terrible thing that happened to me. And I could have chose that. We all are free. We can all decide in any given moment when something comes to us what we want to do with it. And I am just proud of myself for having chosen to see it all through the eyes of Source, and to see it all as the perfect divine flowing that it needed to be. And I still connect with my dearly departed. He's exuberantly bouncing in the well-being that abounds for all of us in love and light. And in some ways, our connection is stronger now than it was then, because he has no resistance, and he is just holding that space for me. And it's really cool when I tune into it, because I get like, it's like having an inside guy. It's like having this like clarity that can flow. And I don't do it very often. I mean, in the beginning a lot, but I prefer my inner being, and I love to dance with my inner being. And so that is how I play. And so anyway, this exercise was interesting in thinking about what experiences have I had that have taken me to the clarity and the knowing that I have figured some of these things out. Not forevermore, not completely, because we're always in the process of learning and growing and becoming, but enough to say, you know what, I have this ease in me. I have this peace in me. I have this joy that I can access like just like that and flow it. And I'm not feeling this yearning anymore. I don't feel this seeking. I don't feel consumed by lack or needing to find another thing or do another thing to fill something. I feel filled from the inside out and overflowing in that love and light. So anyway, I just wanted to share that little practice with you. If anyone was interested in more details or wanted to have any feedback, that's great. You can drop a comment in there and we could get some conversation going. Have a wonderful, beautiful day. I am going to go play a little bit more in the nature and the sunshine and vibe up. Bye.